Food is incredibly important in Red Dead Redemption 2. The first thing you do in the game is look for food with Dutch. One of the earliest missions involves going hunting in order to feed the gang. One of the last things you're told before exploring the open world for the first time is that the gang needs more food. It can be found, bought, or made. It replenishes your cores all throughout the game. Many a can of beans have been chugged while in the middle of a gunfight. And perhaps most impressively, all of the food throughout the world is meticulously designed and realistically animated. So much so that it often makes me wonder, what does it taste like? Well, I'd like to find out. So, starting with the saloons, let's take a look at the real food of Red Dead Redemption 2. There are 9 saloons in operation throughout the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, most of which serve food as well as alcohol. The first ones encountered by the Van der Linde gang in the story are those in Valentine, Smithfield's Saloon and Keen's Saloon. Smithfield's is the larger and more popular of the two, having overshadowed Keen's after it opened. It's also where several story missions take place, perhaps most notably those in which Arthur gets in a bar fight and is thrown out the front window, and the one later on when he returns to get drunk with Lenny. But in both of those missions, he's a little distracted and only has time to appreciate the alcohol, no time to acknowledge their extensive food menu. But this is an open world game after all, so we can return in our own time to really dig into the menu. Beef stew and lamb's fry. Quite a range of options. Let's start with the beef stew. There are plenty of different recipes for stew. Binging with Babish has a great one for Pearson's bear stew, and the gaming gear brand HyperX actually had a video specifically about beef stew that kinda went under the radar, so I'm loosely following a few of these. But Nagi Mehashi of Recipe 10 Eats is my goat, so I will be trusting her recipe the most. I started by prepping the beef and vegetables, onion, garlic, carrots, and celery. I can't specifically spot any celery in the game version, but it's always good in a stew, so I'm including it anyway. Brown the meat, cook the onion and garlic, add the carrot and celery, then coat it all in some flour to thicken. Add some beef broth, red wine, tomato paste, and Worcestershire sauce, then cook it down a bit. Add the cooked beef, some herbs, thyme and bay leaves, and some potatoes before bringing it to a simmer and then letting it sit for an hour and 45 minutes. While we let that simmer, a fun fact about one of its ingredients: Worcestershire sauce was invented by 2 pharmacists, John Wesley Lee and William Henry Perrins, in the early 1800s in the city of Worcester in the county of Worcestershire in England. They commercialized their brand, Lee and Perrins, and started selling the sauce in 1837. Almost 40 years later, the High Court of Justice ruled that Lee and Perrins did not own the name Worcestershire for the sauce, making it a generic term that others could use, which is why you can buy Worcestershire sauce made by other companies. Anyway, after letting it simmer for another 30 minutes and making my whole kitchen smell incredible in the process, it's time to give it a taste.
Oh my god, that meat just melts in your mouth. I knew it would be good, but didn't expect my rendition of it to actually work. That's what happens when you follow Recipe 10 Eats recipe. 100% could picture having this in Valentine.
I probably cut the beef a little small and I could have thickened the liquid a little more, but this tastes incredible. It's great to eat anytime, but especially perfect for a rainy day, as was the case when I cooked this. And as I said, I could absolutely see Arthur eating this same meal at a saloon in Valentine in 1899, or even back at camp. Every ingredient does its job. The red wine and Worcestershire sauce add depth to the flavor, which the vegetables help soak up, and the meat just melts in your mouth. I made a pretty big batch too, which can be refrigerated or frozen, which is great for the week after, and it can be served with bread or mashed potatoes if you want to make it last longer as well. Regardless of its connection to Red Dead Redemption 2, this is definitely a meal I could recommend, and I'll almost certainly be revisiting it in the near future, especially in the winter months. After Arthur has downed his beef stew, it's time to cleanse his palate with some snacks. Smithfield's Saloon wants its patrons to eat some snacks to soak up the alcohol, maybe even get them thirsty enough to buy more drinks, and a good way to do that is by offering a bowl of almonds. No complaints from me, almonds are fantastic. It's believed that most of the global commercial supply of almonds, around 80% worldwide and 100% in the US, comes from California, the state's most valued agricultural export commodity, with almost $5 billion in foreign sales in 2024. Sometimes it feels like I'm spending that much just to get a small bag of them at the supermarket too. Oddly enough, the almonds as seen in the game have an almost white look to them, and while this is almost certainly just the lighting or the low poly design, I'll never miss an opportunity to take something literally. They remind me a little of blanched almonds, which is basically just making them very hot then cold to make it easier to remove the skins. That's really what blanching is, hot water then cold water, and it's mostly used for fruit or vegetables and occasionally meats to stop the cooking process. I love almonds, and blanching them is basically just a way to get straight to the flavor without the annoyance of getting the skin stuck in your teeth. I'd recommend having a utensil like a spoon nearby for the tougher ones, since peeling them by hand will eventually hurt your fingers. But if you can deal with the process of peeling them, or buy them pre-peeled, blanched almonds are a great snack, and it's no wonder Arthur shovels whole handfuls into his mouth in one go, though I do wonder if he's chewing enough or just swallowing them almost whole. Now that all the almonds have been eaten, we can find another snack down at the other end of the bar, pickled eggs. Okay, so there's nothing inherently wrong with the concept of pickled eggs, especially historically. Pickling is a very common way to preserve foods dating back thousands of years, but there's something unnerving about this food sitting on the bar for who knows how long that anybody can just reach their hand into in 1899, especially considering the foodborne illnesses associated with eggs, as if the smell of the Valentine's saloon wasn't bad enough. Anyway, let's make some. I boiled and peeled 6 eggs minus 1, which clearly didn't enjoy the boiling process, then boiled some white vinegar, sugar and salt, and combined them in a jar with some garlic and bay leaves. These are just generic pickled eggs. It's common to use ingredients like beet juice, and I've seen plenty of alternatives like sweet and sour, dark and spicy, pineapple, tarragon, and jalapeno. But I doubt the bar patrons in Valentine require anything too fancy, and they look fairly plain, so I wanted to do the same. With our jar in the fridge, I need to let it sit for at least a week to let the pickling process do its thing. Until then, it's time to try the other meal offered at Smithfield Saloon, lamb's fry with green peas and boiled potatoes. Now importantly, this is called lamb's fry and not lamb fries. What we're making, lamb's fry, the fry of the lamb, is lamb offal, usually the liver or heart, while lamb fries, the fries of the lamb, refer to the testicles. Okay, in truth, they're actually somewhat interchangeable. As I said, lamb's fry is offal, which can include testicles as well. But it's funny to think that a minor difference in plurality could mean the difference between eating a lamb's liver or its testicles. For this though, we will be using a lamb liver. And while there are plenty of recipes for lamb's fry, for me the only real option was this recipe from the Gluttonous Geek, which is specifically based on the meal from the game. Seems like a no-brainer. If you're thinking about making some food based on your favorite games, movies, TV shows or books, I'd highly recommend checking out the Gluttonous Geek, which has hundreds of recipes from The Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Marvel, Pokemon, The Witcher, Zelda, Portal, lots of Dungeons and Dragons, and even real mythology and folklore. It's such a fantastic resource and incredibly helpful for my task today. So let's give this recipe a go. An important step before cooking liver, according to many, is to soak it in milk for a while, a few hours, maybe even overnight, to help remove some of the bitterness, the strong iron blood flavors. While I let that soak, I moved on to another important part of this meal, the side dish of green peas and boiled potatoes. Thankfully, the Gluttonous Geek has this recipe prepared for us too. The recipe specifically keeps everything in one pan, as perhaps would have been the case in the saloon. I started by boiling the potatoes with some butter and apple cider vinegar, then cooking the peas with some butter and some herbs, mint, thyme, sage and oregano, yes that's how I pronounce it, before combining them in a bowl and covering to keep warm while I prepare my lamb's fry. With the liver fully soaked in milk for a while, I dredged it in flour and cooked it in some melted butter. I cooked some bacon, the better method is chopped into pieces but I wanted full strips, then some onion with garlic and beef broth before bringing it all back together with some mint, oregano and tomato paste. Once that's thickened, it's time to plate it with our side dish and serve.
That's not too bad. It's not great.
I really didn't mind the taste at first. The liver is kinda tough. I'm reminded a bit of kangaroo meat, which is very lean, though a large part of that is likely just the way I cooked it. The more I ate though, the less I liked it. I can definitely see why it's a health or frugal food for many, but I can't say it's something I enjoyed enormously. Everything around it is great though. The potatoes and peas are delicious. I promise the potatoes are more flavorful than they look. And the onion and bacon are great. If I'd maybe cooked the liver better, I think I might have enjoyed it more. Though if I ever return to this recipe in future, I might just swap out the liver for a different cut of meat instead, so I can enjoy those flavors more. As far as Red Dead Redemption 2 goes, again, I could definitely see this being something that Arthur would eat in Valentine. I think he would enjoy it a little more than me as well, considering he's likely much more familiar with meat like this, with the gang having relied on hunting on several occasions. He may not be a fan of canned offal.
Starving would be preferable.
But I don't think he'd mind cooked lamb offal so much. Now that we've exhausted our options at Smithfield Saloon, it's time to go around the corner to check out their competitor that they've almost sent out of business, Keen's Saloon. Thankfully, Keen's offers an even wider food menu. Sadly, most of it is unavailable. No pork and beans or squirrel boil for Arthur. At least we can enjoy a hearty bowl of oatmeal. Oatmeal is pretty basic, so most won't need a recipe, but I'll follow this video by Charmaine Sue, another fantastic creator who recreates food from film, TV, video games, and anime. First things first, I toasted the oats like Charmaine does, apparently something learned from Gordon Ramsay. Then I realized my saucepan was too big, so I corrected that. Next, of course, is the milk. Ordinarily, you'd probably just add whatever milk you drink, full cream, skim, oat, lactose-free, whatever. But this is from Keene Saloon in the town of Valentine, a livestock town particularly known for its sheep and goats, so it only seems fair to make this oatmeal using goat milk. It kinda looks like the game version has some honey, although I wanted it anyway, so I added some. I stopped there for now, but it's always tempting to add other things too. Charmaine added cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom. And then, that's it. Time to serve. And of course, entirely unsurprisingly, it's good. Oatmeal with honey rarely isn't. But the milk is certainly new for me.
It adds such a grassy taste. Not sure if that's the best word to describe it. Having it with goat milk just changes that recipe completely.
I added some cinnamon to help with the flavor more, and ultimately I finished the bowl. But not unlike the lamb liver, it's almost like every time I had more, I liked the milk less and less. It's totally fine, and I'm sure there are many who prefer it, but it won't be entering my personal rotation, I'm afraid. Now the last thing on the menu at the front of Keene Saloon, of course, is pickled eggs, but sadly they are nowhere to be found. So before we forget, let's return to Smithfield Saloon to give them a go.
No, I don't think that's for me. The egg itself is still okay, but that outside is so rough and so difficult to get through.
Again, there's a good chance that this is a mistake of my own making, but the texture is just too rubbery for me. And I think I might even be willing to deal with that if it tasted good, but it's basically just a boiled egg in white vinegar. Not the most appealing combination. Maybe next time I'll try pickled beet eggs. And if mine tastes like this, I dread to think how the ones in the game taste. Arthur could beat a dozen people bloody, skin an animal, roll around in the mud, and still shove his hand inside this jar like nothing has happened. Not to be too morbid, but with hygiene like this, it's no wonder there was a flu epidemic that infected a third of the world's population less than 20 years later. Not that we can talk. If there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's how convenient cooking can be in the modern age. Prices aside, the ability to simply find recipes online or in books is one that is easy to take for granted, but the convenience cannot be overstated. And not just for general recipes like beef stew, though I'll always be grateful for Recipe 10 Eats, but for specific things like a lamb's fry explicitly inspired by the one at Smithfield Saloon in Valentine, or oatmeal specifically based on the one at Keene Saloon. The world is truly at your fingertips. And if there's one thing that you should take away from this video, it's to give this a go yourself. Follow the recipes step by step, or make some changes and suggest your alternatives. That's what cooking is all about. Trying new things, finding your style, and sharing it with others. And who knows, maybe there'll be more meals to cook soon, and more recipes to uncover.